Vodafone Idea moving up 6%. I know it's not a multi-month high, not even close to an all-time high, but the stock moving up and for a really good reason, I would say. So the Department of Telecommunication, they made a certain change in their rules, which for now is looking to benefit only Idea, right? Or benefiting Idea the most. So all telecoms were supposed to give a bank guarantee to the Department of Telecommunication for any licenses they were taking before 2022. Now they've moved away from that regulation, and that for Idea means an impact of nearly 22,000 crore. They don't have to keep that bank guarantee anymore. So I think investors are happy. There are a lot of positive analysts recommending up to 70% upside on the stock. And I think that's a good situation for the company for the very short term. So we'll get into it more deeply in this section.
Yes, and Vodafone Idea as a stock has been a favorite among investors and among newbie early investors, because again the stock price is very less, right, near 10 rupees, so it is a penny stock of sorts. People know the brand, so people really want to ride the moves and make some money, right? Very interesting data here. So if you look into the last near 12-15 months, from April 2023 to July 2024, which is what, nearly a year, slightly above a year, stock moved up nearly 230% from what, 6 rupees to 19 rupees. And
Crazy.
from July 24 to Jan 25, which is in the last near 6 months alone, it moved down by 60%.
So if anyone had invested 1 lakh rupees into Vodafone Idea, they would be sitting with just on 40,000 rupees.
Absolutely.
In between, but that 1 lakh would have gone up to what? 3 lakh rupees.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's the kind of volatility the stock has. And again, that is the reason why investors or traders love the stock, because it's a penny stock. It moves up, down crazily. So there are opportunities to trade and make money. Again, the reason why the Vodafone Idea story keeps on being discussed in a lot of forums.
But again, if we look into the actual CAGR of the stock and the investors, the hardcore, true, loyal we investors, if you look into, they wouldn't be happy, right? Because if you look into the data, the last 10 year CAGR is down by 23%. And if you just look into 5 years data, it is giving 6% positive. Then 3 years looking at minus 20%. And the last 1 year alone, like Sharique rightly said, if you look into overall picture, it is down by 49%. So that is not looking that great. And
But
even
do you think that the company is growing in between this time? What's happening? I think the audience would love to know that.
I mean, the revenue is also not growing that much. It is almost declining, I would say. If you look into last 10 years of revenue growth, it is just around 5%. And even if you look into last 3 years, it is just 1%. And if you look at in this year, I mean, there is no growth.
In fact, I'll bring some context there by talking about a competitor, which is Airtel. So Vodafone Idea, if you see, they're making revenue of nearly 40,000 crores in a year, while Airtel is making so much revenue in just one quarter. And talking about profitability, Vodafone Idea anyways is famously making losses. The trailing 12 months loss is nearly 30,000 crores.
I think they're the most loss-making corporate in the history of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Totaling up to more than 2.5 lakh crore rupees in losses in the last 8 to 10 years.
Right. So while Vodafone Idea is making losses of nearly 30,000 crores, Airtel is actually making profits of nearly 18,000 crores. So that is the kind of disparity that we see with Vodafone Idea when we compare it with its competitors.
Yeah, so when you're talking about revenue and even profits, I think it's sort of priced into the stock, because if you're looking at Idea, the market cap of the company is 50,000 crores. But if you're looking at Airtel, it is having a market cap of 10 lakh crore rupees. And nice that you brought Airtel also into the play, because I would like to highlight that the Reliance Jio IPO is coming very soon. A lot of buzz happening this week. And IPO valuation is again expected somewhere around 10 lakh crores for that company also.
Yeah, I mean, Jio is doing absolutely phenomenal. And even like Sharique rightly mentioned, Airtel is also at a very good place. And these both are like dominating the telecom industry. And they're kind of forming like a duopoly. And that is where Vodafone tried to partner with Idea. And that also didn't work out really well for them.
Yeah, I'll also like to remind the fact that yes, Vodafone merged with Idea, but then there is Government of India also in Vodafone Idea as a company, right? So as of today, Government of India is holding nearly 30% of the company. And I'll just
That's
like
crazy.
to remind us all of that AGR issue
Yeah.
that Vodafone Idea used to have. So 16,000 crores of debt via AGR dues that they owed to the government was converted into equity. So Government of India is actually a kind of a considerable shareholder in the company. And obviously, governments hate duopolies, right? So think about a world where it is a duopoly of Jio and Airtel.
Yep.
So they'll just keep increasing prices and do whatever they want to do. And
Like
that's
what they've been doing right now.
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's definitely not good for the country. So this government, this Competition Council of India, so they would definitely not like a duopoly. So yes, government of India is there in Vodafone Idea as a stock. Then government of India is there as BSNL of sorts. So definitely there are other forces in the industry that we need to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, when you rightly spoke about BSNL, like you mentioned, there were also rumors that said that BSNL could or maybe merge with V, and that would have been absolute a disaster. Because I mean, look at the V's debt, which is now standing at more than 2,20,000 crores or something, and this 3,000 crores is supposed to be given to financial institutions, and just for the government alone, they are still in a debt of more than 2 lakh crores, right? So I mean, that would have been a very big disaster if that would have happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people are able to wrap their heads around the fact or to grasp the magnitude of debt worth 2 lakh crores
Yeah.
for a company which is not even making profits or that's a crazy number.
I mean,
right?
imagine how many companies in India have a market cap of more than 2 lakh crore.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be less than 100. So in a world like that, the idea having 2 lakh crore is absolutely crazy. And I think the government can do it. So it's like very straightforward, right? So the market cap of Idea today is around 50,000 crores. Government already owns 30%. So the remaining is nearly 35,000 crores of market cap. Government can easily make LIC or any other institutions go ahead and buy out Idea from the public and other shareholders. But it will be setting a very bad precedent for the Indian corporate ecosystem, right? Any corporate that is dying, will the government go ahead and buy it? I don't think so, right? And that's a bad place to be in. I think that'll be a lot of trouble.
So, what could possibly happen with the V stock right now? How should we look into in short term and long term?
Yeah, in short term, it is a pure gamble like it has always been. Vodafone Idea is a stock which keeps on moving 50, 100% up and down with any slight news around the stock anywhere. So, from a short term perspective, it's a pure gamble. Now, speaking about long term, it could be a natural death to the company or a disastrous takeover, right? Natural death because debt is too high and the company's revenue is not growing and it is making huge losses as well. With such large debt, it could go into bankruptcy and a natural death is a possibility, or a disastrous takeover of the company, like Reliance Jio IPO is happening, or some other, maybe a BSNL or a government could do a disastrous takeover, which definitely wouldn't be good for the company and its shareholders.
Yeah. Jio would raise enough money in their IPO to buy Idea outright. They'll raise 40,000 crores. Idea's market cap today is only 50,000 crores. So they can go ahead and place a bid. And if the Competition Commission approves, which I don't think it will, they can easily buy Idea outright. And I mean, there's still a market leader if you think about it. They have 15% market share. We can't call them a leader, but they're the third largest telecom company in India. And I think that's not to be discounted. And that's where there's a tiny possibility of a recovery there, right? Because if the government and the promoters, which is the Aditya Birla Group, they actually pump in a lot of money, they actually help the stock a lot, I think there's a small possibility that the stock could recover. And that's what everyone is banking on.
I mean, now if you put it like that, then if a company like this is doing all the right things in the playbook of the industry, then yes, they can come back, right? One, as you rightly said, is big support from the promoters. If they're bringing in a lot of money, pumping in a lot of money with, I don't know what hopes, but if they're doing that and paying off the debts, debt is taken care of, then they do all the right things in the playbook, like, hey, go after a segment where you can make high average revenue per user, give great quality and service. And then also, we spoke about this, right? I mean, because of the duopoly of sorts, prices have gone up. So if they are offering great plans at great prices, maybe a lot of users, there is no brand loyalty here. Let's be real.
Absolutely.
So users can go back to Vodafone Idea. They could come back. So if you really want to discuss, have a discussion around their comeback, then yeah, I mean, if they're doing all these things, there is a theoretical possibility of a comeback as well.
Absolutely. And India being a price sensitive market, if you get the pricing right, I mean, people will still, move away from, like, there is no loyal users in India. So wherever there is right price, people will move there. Yeah.
So let me try to summarize this. So in the short term, it is a gamble. In the long term, there are two scenarios. One is it could have a natural death or a huge disastrous takeover, as Sharique said, or there is a slight chance that what everyone is trying to bet on, which is the recovery mode, where the company becomes company, that is Vodafone Idea, does really well, turns around a lot from here, and the shareholders can make money. But there is also one catch here. Whenever the government or promoters they are trying to infuse in more cash, it won't be for free, right?
Right.
There
Yeah.
will be equity being purchased, and that means your total market cap of the company is increasing. Share price could decrease. Okay, so there is always that possibility. Whenever money is being pumped in, share prices could not move.
Exactly. That is where I'd like to remind that the stock price of Vodafone Idea used to be at nearly or even above 100 rupees back in the days. So people think that, hey, the valuation was very high. Now it has come down so much. That isn't the case. When the stock price was at 20 rupees, is
1
when,
year ago, I think.
yeah, that is where the company had its highest market capitalization. So your point is very, very relevant. Yeah.
That's nice to hear. So I think that's where we would like to wrap up the story. What you have to understand is, yes, it could be a good scenario, which is a very less probable scenario. But even in that less probable scenario, there is even less probability for shareholders to make money over the very, very long term. Okay, maybe in the short term, yes, we might be wrong. But over the long term, you have to consider all of these possibilities before you even think about investing into the stock.